Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast, live from Wimbledon on day 6 of the championships. No Taylor Fritz on today's schedule, so here we are in glorious daylight. A beautiful summer's night in SW19, a day with relatively few upsets. No upsets because it's Wimbledon 2025, but not as many as we've become accustomed to. We'll be talking about all of it over the next hour or so here at Wimbledon on the Tennis Podcast with me, Catherine Whittaker, David Law on the right, Matt Roberts in the middle, looking nervous about Amanda Anisimova's big match on Court 1 tomorrow.
Yeah. I promised on last night's pod to head over to Court 1 today for my debut this tournament. Didn't actually end up making it, but I definitely 100% will be there tomorrow. And yeah, got some big match nerves.
I'm nervous for Matt, David.
Yeah, it's big time tomorrow, isn't it?
It's the Gary Anisimova double.
I mean, you may as well just take your tent after the show. Just go and get ready. I mean, that's all that matters in your world for the next 24 hours.
Big day for Matt tomorrow. We'll look ahead to that later in the show. We'll talk about everything over the course of the next hour, but I do feel like we should start with Iga Swiatek because today I think has been a huge day for Iga Swiatek for two reasons: her own match and result and performance, and for results elsewhere that we'll come on to. But let's start with Swiatek herself and her statement victory, 6-2, 6-3 over Danielle Collins, a match that puts egg on the face of people like us that were bigging up what this contest could be. I felt like this was Iga Swiatek with a point to prove today, David, and she proved it.
Yes, excellent from start to finish today. And yeah, I asked if I could do this match as a commentary because I thought it on the schedule it was the one out of all of them that had the potential to be really good in what I thought might be a quiet day, and I think that was proved quite right. But actually this was almost the quietest of the lot because it was so uneventful, because Collins just couldn't make any impressions on the match. I mean, I don't think she had a good day, and she was losing her footing quite early on, but a couple of times she slammed that backhand down the throat of Swiatek in the way that she would have hoped to. Swiatek just kind of did a little pirouette around the ball and just got back in the rally. There's a really good piece written by Matt Futterman in The Athletic about these two players, and particularly about Iga Swiatek overnight, which talked about how just because she hasn't had good results on grass in recent years doesn't mean she can't play on it, but it's been about trying to refine her approach rather than just think that she can't do it, and it drew attention to something that I've been seeing for years now, that when she gets under pressure against particularly a big hitter, she tries to take them on at their own game, and she just has no margin at all. And she lost to Elise Cornet 3 years ago when she was on her incredible run. She lost last year to Putintseva in a very similar way, just hitting long. This piece was about how Wim Fissette has tried to get her to rein that in and use some of the things that she was doing when she was Wimbledon junior champion, and I saw it today. She wasn't trying to just hit the living daylights out of everything. She was waiting for the chance. She was using margins and angles, and it was just a masterclass, really. It was her at her best. It was almost like watching her on her most familiar and comfortable surfaces like clay. And yeah, that was a statement performance, but I think the biggest statement was made to herself, that she's good enough on this surface to go all the way, really. I think if she's in a showdown with a Sabalenka, that might be a different matter, but there's no reason why she can't.
Do you think she took particular pleasure in putting in that kind of performance against Danielle Collins today, slamming the door shut in her face? There did seem to be quite a lot of glee about her.
She was buzzing.
Yeah.
She was absolutely buzzing, and I think, yeah, part of it could well be Danielle Collins related. I tend to think that aggro is more the other way. Like, for some reason, I think Danielle Collins really has it in for Iga Swiatek, and I don't think Swiatek likes it, but I don't think she's constantly making a point of it in the way that Danielle Collins
But
does
it must be,
and has.
I can't believe it's not upsetting for
I'm sure it has
Swiatek.
been, but I think mostly it was about how well she played today, and I agree with David. Look, I'm not going to say today was the first time I ever thought Iga Swiatek could win Wimbledon, because I'm sure in the past I probably have thought, well, she's so good, she's so dominant on other surfaces and at other tournaments. I'm sure there have been times in the past where I've thought and probably said on this podcast, Iga Swiatek will figure out Wimbledon one day. I've certainly had doubts about that over the last year or so, but today was a real day where I thought, well, I mean, she could win this Wimbledon. I mean, given the way that the draw is heading and given the way she's playing, I was really impressed today. I thought I'm always talking about it, but she served outstandingly well. A high percentage, and in particular, incredibly effective behind her first serve. Her pace on the first serve was really high as well. And, you know, she did that thing, got an early break in the second set, and then just served it out. Just confidently served it out. Like, didn't need the extra break. She was constantly threatening the Danielle Collins serve herself with her own returns. And like, she just had this incredible balance of going after the ball when she needed to, but actually being incredibly patient, moving Collins from side to side, locking down her game. It was a great performance, really, really good. And yeah, like, she always said that when she won Junior Roland Garros, when she won Julia Wimbledon, was that she hadn't won Roland Garros, and she was so determined to win that year's Roland Garros that she sort of was in a headspace of, right, okay, now it has to be Wimbledon, because she was desperate to win a Junior Slam.
But wasn't Katie McNally involved in some aspect of this?
Very possibly.
I think
Maybe they met in one of the matches.
I think so. Anyway.
Yeah. But either way, like, I was just thinking about it in terms of, like, now she's a pro, like, there is this weird thing of, we've always felt like the transition from Roland Garros to Wimbledon was going to be tough for Iga Swiatek, but she's come in the last few years having won Roland Garros, so you're always like, well, she's confident, she's playing well, can she carry it on? This time she lost at Roland Garros, and we kind of went the other way. We were like, well, her form's not been good, she's not playing that well, therefore Wimbledon's going to be tough. But actually it kind of feels like losing at Roland Garros, being in this totally different mindset, more under the radar, a bit down in the rankings, having had some reps on the grass in Bad Homburg, it just feels like there's a bit of momentum gathering behind her right now. And yeah, I've definitely been guilty in the past of just kind of assuming that her game doesn't work as well on the grass. And look, it's not going to be her best surface, but if she serves like that, and if she can move like that, and she's got that mindset and that patience, of course the game can work on grass, because she's one of the best players in the world, and she can make it work. And today I thought she was awesome.
Emily Marsden is validating me in the live chat. She says Katie McNally beat her in the Roland Garros Junior semi-finals. Then they won the Roland Garros Junior doubles title together, and then Iga Swiatek came in here and won the Wimbledon Junior singles title. She said in her on-court interview after the match, Swiatek, she said many things in that interview. She said, this is the first time that the ball is listening to me on grass. And she didn't mean the match, she meant in general, she meant in her practice sessions generally that she's been having on grass. And
Lovely quote.
Yeah. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't feel like she's fighting against something out there this year, and it feels like the first time that's the case. She's going with it. I mean, she sees it as the grass is going with me, but from the outside it looks like Swiatek's going with the grass. Yeah, exactly. And look, I've been thinking today, I was talking with our colleague Itamar, who's here, about something that actually Rafael Nadal said on Andy Roddick's podcast, which was that after clay, grass was actually the surface that he thought suited his game the most when he was fit and when he was healthy. And like you said, I would much rather have played Novak Djokovic on grass than on a hard court. And I was kind of thinking about that in the context of Iga Swiatek. I was kind of like, well, you know,
she obviously looks up to Rafael Nadal so much, and that her game is not the same as Rafael Nadal's, but there are elements, that if she can get her serve working, she's got the foot speed to be able to get the forehand into play. She doesn't have a slice, kind of like Nadal did, but I had like an epiphany today. I was kind of like, grass can work for Iga Swiatek. I thought she was so good in this match in a way that I've never seen her like that on centre court before. Like even when she's like battled through, she had that great match with Bencic, didn't she, a few years ago? But she wasn't playing with this conviction against an opponent who, yes, she normally beats, but is normally a really, really dangerous opponent for her. And I just like the way suddenly this tournament's looking for Swiatek.
A come to Iga moment. Just came up with that. Is that anything?
Could be.
We need to talk about pasta with strawberries. It's become a thing.
Big time, quickly.
Big time. It's the new Frankie the Cat.
Oh, that's harsh. There's plenty to
you
talk
weren't
about.
You weren't in her press conference.
I saw that she was asked about it a lot.
Big time. And she's done Instagram posts about it. She's leaning in.
I don't think she realised that it was going to be such a controversy when she just put it out there in the encore interview with Annabelle Croft.
I've done some digging. It is a traditional Polish dish called, this is pasta with strawberries, and it really is as described. This is not like a strawberry garnish or a little, like sometimes you have a raspberry vinaigrette on a savoury salad that only has a slight tang. This is a bowl of pasta with pretty much exclusively strawberries in it, and sometimes there's icing sugar. Like, it's
sounds quite nice.
It's called, and bear with me here, macaron struskawkami. I've written that out phonetically, clearly. This is from the website Polonist. Quote, "This is a simple, unsophisticated recipe. It won't win any awards, and it won't shock your taste buds into submission. But to the whole generations of Poles, a plate of plain pasta topped with fresh strawberry sauce brings back nostalgic memories." And look, I'm sure if I was brought up in a culture where this was a comforting dish, there's every chance I would enjoy it. I like to think of myself as an adventurous eater. But as somebody that has grown up somewhere where pasta with strawberries isn't so much of a thing, it does sound absolutely horrendous.
And the next evolution of the story is all the journalists going and all the Italian players' press conferences and asking them what they think.
Everyone's upset that Paolini's out.
Yeah.
Well, Flavio Cobolli is going to get asked about this.
Sinner, Sonego. Pasta questions are coming at you in your next press conference.
Well, if they don't approve of chicken in pasta,
which Paolini does not,
I would be surprised if they're into this.
Yeah.
I quite like the sound of it.
At a Champions Tour event in Chengdu, I witnessed
Chengdu Champions Tour events come up.
John McEnroe be served a pizza with strawberries on it, and he sent it back.
He sends a lot of things back.
But there you go. I'm telling you, as long as she keeps winning, this pasta with strawberries thing is going to keep going.
And there was a point in there that she was kind of cracking jokes in that encore interview. There was a lightness to her. I think, they kind of knew that they had a lot of time for the encore interview. So Annabelle Croft kind of, asked a lot of questions. But Swiatek just spoke so freely and openly. She just seemed in a great mood. Probably because of just how well she played. But I just thought, maybe we can read too much into these things. But it just seemed like a good sign to me that she seemed so relaxed.
She was the same in press. Very happy to talk about the pasta with strawberries. Thrilled when it came up. And everyone just ran with it. And then the Insta posts have come. If you're sick of it now, folks, buckle up. And look, it was already a great day for Swiatek, provided she was able to win today, because shortly before she took to centre court for her match with Danielle Collins, Elena Rybakina departed from her section of the draw. She went down 7-6, 6-3 in a rain-interrupted match on court 2 to Clara Tauson. Your gal, David. It's finally happening. She had never won a grass court match before this Wimbledon.
You just have to persevere sometimes. and I have, and so she. But that's a great win, isn't it? It's a great win, and to win the first set on a tie break, I don't quite know how to think about this, because very pleased for Clara Tauson, but Elena Rybakina is the most perfectly equipped player on this surface in that draw, and she's not come up trumps there, and I don't think that should be happening. As well as Clara Tauson's clearly played, it shouldn't be happening that Elena Rybakina is out in the first week. I'm not shocked, because this has been a theme. She has not played well for a long time.
But it's shocking that it's not shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening. She should be doing way better than this.
What's going wrong, Matt? You watched pretty much every ball of this, I think.
I did, yeah. Look, it was a slightly strange match because of the delay at 4-all in the first set. There were actually 2 delays, but that was the longest one at 4-all in the first set. And actually, I felt Rybakina was quite lucky to be at 4-all. I thought Tauson was the better player, the one with getting more chances, and I thought the break was good for Rybakina, because I did think Tauson was the better player. But in that first set, she was really not clinical, Rybakina. She had a couple of set points. There was quite a fluky save from Tauson on one of them, and a great save on the other. And then it went to a tie break, and again Rybakina was just like, there was a big point where she just should have put the ball away, and had she put it away, she would have had 3 set points consecutively. Some moments of just horrible misses from Rybakina. Open court, she would just miss the ball. And if anyone's seen the match point of this, that's exactly what happened then as well. Short forehand and just sort of ballooned it long. And that was kind of the story of the match from a Rybakina perspective. She was, her body language was pretty negative during the second rain delay, where they didn't actually go off court. They just sort of sat there while it sort of showered and cleared. She didn't go over to her coaching team once. They're literally staying there on the court. She's got an opportunity to go and talk to her team, and she didn't. Whereas Tauson did go over, and just the contrast in vibes there was really, really stark. And as you said, it's been quite a long time now since Rybakina has had a big win at a slam. She's become much more vulnerable in these early stages of slams, and for someone whose game makes so much sense, especially on grass, it's a tough scene. But I do want to say I was very impressed with Tauson. I couldn't believe it when you said never won a match on grass before this tournament, because it actually seemed like I kind of had a Tauson epiphany as well. I didn't know she
Welcome to the club.
But I was like, I didn't know you could slice.
Oh, Matt, don't worry, she didn't either.
Right, so where did that come from then? Because it was a incredibly effective shot for her today. Drop shot, slice, touch. She was making Rybakina look completely one-dimensional, and it looked like she had a few layers to her game, which I was surprised about.
It sounds like a bit of a kind of emergency addition to her game, not some big master plan that she's been working on for a long time with a view to targeting success on grass. She talked about it in her press conference as if it was a very Rybakina specific tactic, potentially inspired by her defeat to Tatiana Maria at Queen's.
Right.
She was really chuffed with how she was hitting that shot today. She said, my slice was working really good today. I was hitting all the spots I wanted. It's not often that it works like that.
That's what I thought.
Right.
Okay, this is validated.
Yeah. And to be honest, that was kind of the theme of the Tauson press conference. I was expecting her to be riding high, and she was chuffed with this win. But in terms of bigging up the potential of Tauson Swiatek, which I could really get into, Clara Tauson rather poured cold water a little bit on that with her quote. She was asked to look ahead to that match, and she said, look, if I play like I did today, it'll be a tight match, but it's not often I play as good as I did today.
She's just honest, Catherine. She doesn't, straight shooter.
Yeah, you've got to do better psyching out talk than that, haven't you?
I'd have thought so. Look, the thing about Tauson is, watching her today, I've always thought of her as just a big hitter, and actually she just had a lot of control about her today. Like she's not a big hitter who like totally smothers you. She kind of gives herself time. She does have a bit of shape on her shots. It's not a totally flat hit.
It's a timing-based power.
Yeah.
Really. She's not throwing her body into the ball.
She's not your
more like
Stremska
Keys.
out there.
I've been to so many press conferences today where a player has set up a big match against a top player and has talked in almost sort of self-help speak about how they're excited and they're going to do this and that and the other. And yet you're kind of looking at them thinking you've got no chance. And yet Tauson's doing the opposite. And I kind of feel like she might actually be dangerous. She's not saying a lot, but actually that's her way. And she may come out and just connect. And if she connects, she's blooming dangerous.
Yeah, she may well, but I definitely think that Swiatek rather plays Tauson than Rybakina. As you said, I think
that's
this
huge for Swiatek, isn't it? Rybakina going out.
I think so. I was looking at that as a real roadblock in the draw, to be quite honest. Given what we've seen Rybakina do in the past against Swiatek, even just a month ago, she was leading that match at Roland Garros comfortably. I know Swiatek turned it around, but on the clay, obviously now I'm a grass court Iga Swiatek convert, but on the clay, it made more sense that Swiatek was able to turn that around. Had that been on grass, I think that would have been a real challenge for her. And I just think with Tauson, yes, she does have power, but she doesn't have complete smothering power like Rybakina at her best does. And also, if Swiatek plays like she did today, I think she can absorb the Tauson power and move her side to side, and be patient in rallies. If she serves well herself, that will give her a foundation. Yeah, as you said, it's a two-pronged reason why that was a good day for Iga Swiatek today, and that maybe Tauson can defy her own quotes and play like that again, and in which case she would be dangerous. But I don't know. I think I'm backing Swiatek there.
I'm backing Swiatek. I also think she's giving me confidence at the moment, Swiatek, that she's not going to panic. If she does get manhandled for a few games by the power of Tauson and get rocked back on her heels a bit, I don't get the impression at the moment that she's going to panic.
That's, I think, the most important thing to her longevity in this draw, because that's what she's been doing in recent Wimbledons, panicking.
I mean, in recent events, really, this year.
Yeah. And I think that is what Wim Fawcetta's been trying to recondition in her game, is to just get her to stop doing that. Stop worrying. Trust your movement. Trust your racket skills. But be prepared to just neutralise.
And we were talking about this in Australia. That was the style of play she brought to the Australian Open. She wasn't necessarily hitting out all the time. She was using some variety. She was soaking up pace. She was being a counterpuncture at times. But she was also dismissing opponents too. It was a great blend and balance that she had in Australia. And as this season's gone on, she's moved away from it. But yeah, today was the first time I really felt like it was back. Actually, no, the turnaround against McNally was another one. I said it. Patience. That's what got her through that match. And it was a key attribute today as well.
Cameraman Matthew was just distracted by him tenderly placing a waterproof jacket over all the equipment. Could you tenderly place a waterproof jacket over us?
Yeah.
Please, because it is starting to rain.
I've got an emergency umbrella here, and there is another one in my bag as well,
Okay.
Matthew, if you need it for the equipment.
We're monitoring the situation.
It's fine. There's no rain in the forecast. A quote from merely half an hour
just
ago.
a few spits and spots. At that point, Matt, we were very committed to this position. It was all about
so
just
committed.
making the best of an unchangeable situation, which we shall continue to do.
Absolutely.
Right, let's head to Court 1 and the opening match there, Minaur Andreeva. dissecting Hailey Baptiste, 6-1, 6-3. It definitely took Baptiste, I thought, a while to settle in that environment. The roof was on for this match. It was all new and overwhelming, and she was overhitting a lot in the opening set. There was a moment at 4-2 in the second set, Andreeva serving, where it felt like if Baptiste could have just got one of the break points in that game, then everything could have changed. And in that one game alone, Baptiste won over everybody inside court one. She left, this was a 6-1, 6-3 match, and that is kind of reflective of how one-sided it was. I thought Andreeva was awesome, and yet Baptiste left the court to a rousing ovation. Yeah. Like, people will remember Hailey Baptiste from today.
Yeah, because there was that pocket where they played well at the same time, and it made you think, just imagine if Baptiste had played her best today, and I'd like to see it again. I'd like to see that matchup again. That's what I left thinking, because the first set was a disappointment, very one-sided on the scoreboard. There were little flickers for Baptiste, but she was missing a lot. And Andreeva was playing beautifully. She just sort of had an answer to everything. But in the second set, when Baptiste rallied, there were a couple of points where they'd have like a 10-12 shot rally, and every shot in the rally was different. Slices, whipped forehands, drive backhands, volleys, and I think there were 2 of those in 2 points, and both of them ended with Andreeva passing shots. There was nothing more that Baptiste could do. She was throwing everything she got, and Andreeva's passing shots are so good. She just dissects you. She stays with you, gets in position, and then and the thing is, the first one she did with a backhand, and I thought, okay, well, that's where you've gone wrong, Hailey, because you've done everything else right, but you don't go to the backhand. Next point, she went to the forehand. She got skewered with that one cross court as well. It was a beautiful performance from Andreeva, I thought, and a suggestion to me that she's not done yet, and she's still got that big serve as well, knocking those in nearly 120 miles an hour.
The serve is huge. Yeah. Like with the roof on today, the crack that serve, the noise that it makes, it's a huge weapon. She looks, everything apart from the forehand looks so right on grass. I don't think Hailey Baptiste was able, just because she didn't have a range today, to go hard into that forehand and ask the question of it. I do think there are going to be players, potentially Iga Swiatek in a semi-final, that can ask bigger questions of that technique on the forehand, and I would like to see her ask those questions, because I don't really know how big an issue it is on this surface, because today I thought she looked a dream, and I was kind of nailing her on for the semi-finals, really. And she did actually talk about that in press. She said she felt like today she found the right balance between slicing the forehand and hitting over it with topspin. But she did say something telling. She said I found the right balance between slicing and hitting the forehand when I had the time. She does need time to hit through the forehand, so there's a very obvious play against her if somebody is able to technically execute.
Yeah, which I think is why, with that probably one big exception, Sabalenka's had a lot of success against Andreeva. Like, she can rush that side.
It'll be Emma Navarro next for Mira Andreeva. She beat the defending champion, knocked her out. Barbora Krejcikova 2-6, 6-3, 6-4. Look, there's a Navarro story in this match. She was very impressive from midway through the second set. There were some fascinating exchanges between her and her coach Peter Ayers, but I do feel like we should deal with the Krejcikova of all this first, because there were some incredibly distressing scenes out there on court one in the deciding set when Krejcikova started to fail physically. I at first thought it was the back that was troubling her, because she kept on being bent double and using her knees as a brace, and we know she's had this chronic back issue, but it turned out she was feeling physically very, very ill. She became dizzy. She described in some quotes afterwards, she didn't come to a press conference because she wasn't well enough, but she did provide some quotes. She said it was basically like she powered down. It sounded like it happened quite suddenly, and it was quite dramatic. She was so upset. She was in tears. at the back of the court shaking. You know, that is not how you want your Wimbledon title defence to end. And look, I think we should remember here that Barbora Krejcikova has barely played a match for a year. She was the bookies' favourite in her opening round match to lose. Alexandra Ayala was favourite to beat her. The fact that she won 2 matches here and made it competitive against Emma Navarro is good news for Barbora Krejcikova, given where she's been recently. Do you remember watching her in her match at the French Open? I found that quite harrowing, actually, how unathletic, uncompetitive she looked. I thought, there's no way she's going to be able to mount any kind of Wimbledon title defence. And she looked like herself at this tournament, and I think that's uplifting, even if it ended on an incredibly upsetting note, and it was upsetting.
It was brutal. It was really upsetting to watch her, kind of sobbing at the back of the court midway through that final set, or certainly towards the end of that final set. She got an amazing ovation and reception from the Court One crowd after that, but it was absolutely brutal, because you could tell that the tennis was, when it was there, it was so good, and it was troubling Navarro so much. Like, her forehand is such an incredible shot. The angle that she can create on it, the disguise, the precision with it, and it was doing so much damage in this match. And she could, in that final set, she could break Navarro, but she couldn't hold serve. You know, they kept being an incredible amount of breaks in that final set, and Krejcikova was just clearly struggling so much. She was sort of getting the serve in and then immediately having to go after the ball and play a lot more aggressively than she would usually do because of how she was feeling. And it's just such a brutal way for a title defence to end, really, considering that had she been fitter and healthier, I think the tennis is good enough to honestly to beat anyone in the draw. Considering that she won the title last year, and we've seen what she's done against so many of the best players in the world at times in her career. And it's kind of, she's got so used to having to come back from these enforced breaks, and it is remarkable the level that she can pick up in so few matches. And I did feel like her movement had even improved from the first round, where I thought she was really tentative. I felt like in the first set today it was much more the Krejcikova that won this tournament last year, minus the serve, which was such a big factor for her last year. Really, honestly, a really tough scene. I've with most of the upsets this tournament, or big moments this tournament, it's kind of a shame to lose so many seeded players in one sense, but I don't know, I've just found myself having a lot of fun this tournament. I had very little fun watching this, because it was just kind of harrowing to see Krejcikova go through it like that.
Navarro was a class act throughout. There was a fascinating exchange between her and her coach Peter Ayres after the second set. Krejcikova went off court. She went over to her coaching box, as you're allowed to do, and I really like him. I really like the way he talks, the way he addresses her, how I love the dynamic. Just seems so healthy. And he said, be good to yourself. He said, this isn't easy, it's a challenge. Be good to yourself, just go one point to the next, give it all you've got, and you'll be fine. And I want him to come and give me affirmations in my daily life. The way he said that was just so reassuring, but also empowering. It didn't feel like she was seeking reassurance as a sort of crutch, that she needed a man to come along and say, you're going to be fine, don't worry. It just felt really healthy and encouraging, but also like, you've got this, you're you, like, you're enough, you've got this. And I loved it. And I'm full of respect for Emma Navarro, and it will be her that takes on Mira Andreeva in the next round. I think it's a good match.
That's a nice match.
It's a stylish match, isn't it?
Yeah. I think could be long. Could be a lot of good rallies.
The other fourth round matches set up on the women's side today. Belinda Bencic sneaking through the draw. 10-7 in the match tiebreak today against Elisabetta Cocciaretto.
Yeah, this was a match where there were so many women's matches first on today that, I couldn't watch them all. I went with the Rybakina Tauson match to focus on, but I caught the match tiebreak here, and it seemed like two players trying to do quite similar things. Like Bencic always wants to take the ball early. That's her thing. And Cocciaretto this tournament has really made it her thing. That was what we said was so impressive against Pegula in the first round, and they were both trying to do it in the tiebreak. It was good, but Bencic just did it better. Came up with some big shots when she needed them, and Cocciaretto was up a break in that third set. She turned it around after the rain delay. I think that did help her. She had the momentum. She was up a break in the third. It sounded like Bencic was maybe getting in her own way a little bit, but once she kind of calmed down and started playing her game, she just had enough to get through. I don't think she's playing her best, Bencic. I don't think she's in the sort of form that she was in right at the start of the year when she came back so impressively. But actually, fourth round here on grass, I think that's a good run for Bencic.
She should have signed for it, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I think this has been a really, really good tournament for her.
She's got Alexandrova next, who's finally doing it at slams.
Yeah, and it is interesting, isn't it? Because she and Samsonova, who have such huge games that do well at tour events but haven't done well at Grand Slams, they're still there. And Alexandrova in particular, she's got to take one of these chances. I mean, she should be believing that she can take Belinda Bencic out, and yet I still think Bencic is probably the favourite in my mind. Even though she hasn't played that much tennis and she's had injuries, I just love the way she steps up and redirects pace. I'm fascinated to see what happens in that.
Yeah, Alexandrova beat Sonmez today, straight sets, and Samsonova dismissed Daria Kasatkina 2-3, and she now plays Jessica Buthas-Monero, who took out Diana Yastremska. She's sort of a Wimbledon specialist.
Yeah,
Buthas-Monero.
She beat Vondrousova, the defending champion, a year ago, and yeah, I would think of her as a clay court player, probably because of her surname, and yet there's a clear ability from her. I mean, I think she's a good player anyway, but she really likes this surface.
I think one of the most interesting things at the moment is that there are a lot of players who play well on both clay and grass. Like, there are absolutely still players who come alive in the grass court season, when they might start slamming down serves or whatever, or with just a slice and all that kind of thing. And there are, he's not even in the draw and he's going to catch a stray. There are your Casper Ruud types who love the clay and
That wasn't me.
and don't really give the grass a chance. But when I talk about like Flavio Cobolli, for example, I would not have thought that he would necessarily would.
He's busy being the ATP social media admin.
Yeah, and yet he's talking about the way that he returns the ball being really, really like suiting the grass. And I think, I've mentioned that Nadal quote. We saw Swiatek today. Alcaraz, we see it every year. Look at the way Sinner's just transferring. Like, I think it's a really fascinating part of the sport right now where you do get people who, for them, it seems like two different sports on grass and clay. But actually, there's a lot of players who the grass and clay are their best surfaces above hard courts. They're kind of natural surface specialists, and I think Buthas-Monero is kind of proving to be one, and Krejcikova is one.
Yeah, gosh, it's fascinating. It's like the extremes of the political spectrum. Like, once you get to extreme fascism and extreme communism, it's all kind of the same. Did that work? Did it work better than a come to Iga moment?
It wasn't where I thought you would be going.
Where did you think? Because you said yes to start with. Said, you've got this.
I just wasn't
analogy.
expecting you to say fascism and communism when I brought up clay and grass.
No, you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean.
once it gets so extreme, it's the same.
Right.
David is not convinced.
Both a problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. On to the men's draw. Let's start, shall we, with... Well, I'm leaving Flavio Cobolli to the end because I just don't understand him. I do not understand that guy.
David's our Cobolli guy.
Yes.
He's in my team, and I kept faith with him when he was going through a 0-8 run at the start of the year, getting me 0 points. And now it's coming up trumps.
That's your Cobolli analysis,
Yeah.
folks. Let's start with Novak Djokovic,
Yep.
shall we?
Probably more reliable territory.
6-3, 6-love, 6-4 over Mirmir Kecmanovic today. His 100th match win at Wimbledon. Look, he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. I do feel like playing Kecmanovic is like having a practice with a hitting partner for him. Like, I don't know how much to read into this specific match. I was already convinced he was in great form. I just don't know if today means anything really. It felt a bit exhibition-y, really.
Yeah, I think that both things can be true. He is in great form. It is a dream draw, and we learned nothing really about how Novak Djokovic is going to fare when he gets into the tougher matches, and particularly if he gets through to the semi-finals against Jannik Sinner. The only thing we learned is that he's one step closer to it, really, and that he seems fully fit and he seems in good spirits, and he can play a diving volley off the end of a however many stroke rally where there's been lobs and goodness knows what else.
He wasn't doing that 12 months ago, was he?
No. I mean, look, he's talked about that knee injury a year ago. He was so compromised. He did incredibly well to reach that final a year ago, but he was having to manage his movement. And look, he's still 38, and I think he's a little more careful than he used to be, which is sensible. But he flung himself at that ball, and he managed to put side spin on the ball to bend it around Kecmanovic with his backhand volley. That is astonishing. And yeah, he rightfully got a standing ovation, and I'm quite happy to just remember that match for that point.
Yeah, I had a friend on centre court today, and like, that's all we're talking about. Like, that 1 point is enough for them to go home feeling totally satisfied. And it was a completely straightforward, unremarkable Novak Djokovic match in kind of many ways. His 100th win at Wimbledon, wasn't it? But like, that point was just ridiculous. It was even before the diving volley, his net coverage had kind of been astonishing. How his reflex volleys, and then the touch on the lob to get it over Kecmanovic, and then he came up with the diving volley winner. And then, of course, like, because he's Novak Djokovic, it wasn't just a highlight reel moment in a match. It helped lead to the break of serve, and actually it broke Kecmanovic, I think, because it had been quite close up until that point. And then, he won the second set 6-love and immediately went up a break in the third. Like, it just turned the whole momentum of the match. It was an incredible moment, and yeah, kind of one that people like us who've seen Novak Djokovic play before, okay, we've not seen that necessarily before, but we're used to him doing remarkable stuff. But I don't know, for people who don't get to see Novak Djokovic all that often, they've gone away with that point, and that was pretty special. I mean, it was absolutely astonishing.
He's got Alex de Minaur next, who ended the run of August Holmgren today in straight sets. This is obviously the match that we were supposed to get 12 months ago, and Alex de Minaur had to withdraw ahead of time with that ankle injury. That was his first Grand Slam quarter-final, wasn't it? Or his first Wimbledon quarter-final. It was a huge moment for him, and he wasn't able to participate. David, you went to Alex de Minaur's press conference today. How convinced are you that he can take on this challenge?
Well, I find it intriguing, that element of it, and I asked him to reflect on that moment, because I won't forget the look in his eye that day when he'd just beaten Artifice and he basically injured himself on the penultimate point of the match, and he tried to convince the on-court interviewer that he would be fine, but the look in his eye was, I'm not fine, I'm actually in massive trouble here, and oh no, I've just got to the quarterfinals, and what have I done to myself? And he pulled out the next day, had to withdraw from the match against Novak Djokovic, and he said, it is really tough to think about it because I was in great form and I was feeling so confident, and I think I was more dangerous then than I am now in terms of form. But he said there's almost like there's two versions of me now. There's that version from back then, and there's the version that I've kind of had to, I guess, kind of develop in the last few months, because he's talked about this burnout that he's experienced and this very strange feeling for him that he's never had before of a sort of lack of energy and motivation. And he said in the previous round, I'm just trying to take it day by day and get little wins, not just the wins on the match day, but just little incremental moments where I feel like I've achieved something. And in this instance, I think he said, I'm proud of myself because I'm here, because I've got to this point, and he was talking about, he was asked, when did you know you'd got Djokovic? And he said, honestly, I truly don't look at the draw. In my ideal situation, I would win today and have a team member of mine come up and tell me who's next. But a couple of days ago, I did get it put to me in a press conference.
Wasn't you, was it?
Wasn't me, thankfully. So he knew that was on the line, and he said, "Look, I'm excited. He's nobody needs to tell anybody how good Novak Djokovic is and all he's done in the sport, but this is a chance for me to go out and have the match that I couldn't have a year ago, and I'm excited by the challenge." And I told you earlier, it's not that I don't believe him. I believe that he has he's convinced himself of that, because what else are you going to do? You're going to go and throw the kitchen sink at the guy and try and win, and something may happen, but it's hard to believe that he would win. He has played him 3 times before, and he has won one of them at the United Cup. But the one that sticks in my mind is the one they played in Australia when Djokovic played with a point to prove that night. And as Alex de Minaur said himself tonight, he said he was just far too good for me. But it's sport, and he knows that, and he knows that what happened to him could happen to anybody, and he's not banking on that. He doesn't. He said it. It was quite interesting. He said, I don't want to have just my opponents get injured or just end up with an easy draw. I want to play everybody. I don't want to beat everybody. So fair enough. He seems a lovely bloke, Alex de Minaur. I really enjoyed having him there, but it's difficult to see how he hurts Djokovic.
I know he's had a decent draw, but it's pretty amazing that he's got to this stage given what he's going through. I can imagine this is incredibly discombobulating for Alex de Minaur to be feeling this way about tennis and about life on tour. He's always seemed to be somebody that's just got on with it. He's got a fiance that's on tour as well. That all seems very healthy. It's all been on the up and up. He always seems pumped. He always gives his 100%. I was not expecting to hear Alex de Minaur start talking about burnout and feeling flat and seeing him look so flat. Just shows you how good a player it is, I think, that he finds himself in this position in spite of that.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me, this discussion we've just had, makes me kind of even sadder that we didn't see this match last year, because I actually think if there was one sort of moment with circumstances for that match to be really, really intriguing, I think it would have been last year, because Djokovic wasn't himself. He was still great. He still got to the final. He still beat, Musetti in the semi-finals, kind of a similar caliber player to de Minaur. I think he probably would have had enough, but I do think de Minaur was kind of in the form of his life, and with confidence, going out there believing that his game could hurt players. I don't get that sense now. I think, as David's explained, he's just in a different headspace. I think he's kind of proud of how he's performing, but he doesn't feel dangerous to me, Alex de Minaur, in a way that I think he actually did a little bit, maybe for the first time last year. I remember that United Cup match. He served incredibly well. It was one of those matches where Djokovic, he either didn't have a break point or maybe only had a break point right at the very, very end. And normally you would expect him, to be getting into Alex de Minaur's service game. So
it was a serve bot, that match. I think he won. Didn't he win 100% of points on his first serve?
It was crazy.
That was the case for most of the match, and something like that anyway.
So no, honestly, like, I don't know. I'm not that hyped about this match, whereas I think I probably would have been last year.
Yeah.
But by the way, just a very quick segue on the sort of thing about finding out who your draw is and all that kind of thing. Taylor Fritz, did you see this? Gave a funny answer the other day where, because he was still playing Eastbourne.
Such main character energy this tournament. He's not even played today, and he's
I know,
coming up.
I know. He was playing Eastbourne when the Wimbledon draw came out. And so he was like, well, obviously I didn't look at the Wimbledon draw because I'm playing Eastbourne. I'm in that tournament. Then he said that he got a text from his coach saying that he'd booked a practice with Riley Opelka when he got to Wimbledon. And he was like, well, that was a giveaway as like who I'm going to be playing in the draw. It could only be like one of 3 people if you're booking me to practice with Opelka. Presumably it's like, obviously, probably not him because you probably wouldn't practice with your opponent, but it's like obviously a big server. And he was like, so I immediately went to
it's Nicholas Jarry or it's
thought that was really funny.
He does give a good quote, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Taylor Fritz. Right, let's find something we can get pumped about. I've got a feeling David is going to get irrationally pumped about this. Grigor Dimitrov has set up
I've been worried about
a 4th round match with Yannick Sinner, who is absolutely demolishing the opposition. 1-3-1 over Pedro Martinez. Today, Dimitrov, to be fair, won in straight sets himself, 3-4 and 6 over Sebastian Offner, hit an incredible running backhand down the line winner, which is everywhere on social media if you want to see it. I showed Matt earlier. It is a treat.
Yeah, it got my approval.
I've got an awful feeling David is going to get all our hopes up about Grigor against the Demolisher.
Can I just give my Yannick Sinner stat before David builds up this match? Yannick Sinner's dropped 17 games so far, which is the Open era record for the fewest dropped en route to round 16 at Wimbledon by players who played 3 rounds rather than having a walkover.
That feels like the perfect sort of scene setter for
David
to convince us that Grigor Dimitrov's going to be the man.
How many of those were against Grigor Dimitrov? Look, the final words of Grigor Dimitrov's press conference were, I'm into the second week of Wimbledon. It's time to get excited. Too right, Grigor. Too right. I mean, listen, it was a really interesting press conference. Again, interview room 2, small, intimate room, maybe 12 of us there and Grigor, and he's such an affable bloke. He's a lovely fella. And but I started it off by bringing the mood down and talking about his injuries. And I said, well, first of all, how close to 100% fit are you? And he said, look, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but I am pain-free and I feel good, And I said, my second question is, are you able to go into matches without thinking about your physicality? Because he's retired so many times in the last year. His body has just given way. I mean, it's not like quitting. His body has just stopped working mid-match so many times, and including at all the Grand Slams. And he said, look, it is a fair question, and it is something. It's a fine line, he said, because I am aware of it. I can't not be, and I kind of need to be in order to take the best precautions. But I also can't go into a match not going for it. And so I think he has to build himself up to it. He has to try to get over it. And I think he feels quite excited by the fact that he's, at the moment, making serene progress in this draw. as for Sinner, I mean, look, he's very clear. You know, the guy's world number one, and he's world number one for a reason. And he's been beaten by him 3 out of 4 times. The 3 most recent of them, I think 4 most recent of them, out of 5. But they haven't played on grass. And I definitely think if there is one surface he wants to try his luck on against Sinner, it's grass, because that's the one that will react a little differently to his slice. He's going to go for it. I have no doubt about that. He's going to go for it, and the question is, can he A, stay with him in sets to keep it close, and can he maybe rattle him a bit? Can he rattle him a bit? Because Sinner's not been in any sort of contest at all so far. So what happens when he is?
I'm asking you, David, can he rattle him a bit?
You just never know. You just never know.
For anyone playing Tennis Podcast Bingo, you're
There you
welcome.
I mean, I'll be there.
I'm going to put it in the newsletter, your prediction in 2 days' time.
Right.
Do it.
I can put off Flavio Cobolli no longer. He demolished Jakub Mensik today. 6-2, 6-4, 6-2. Plays Marin Cilic now, who got the better of Jaume Minaur in 4 sets on court 18 behind us here, 6-4 in the 4th. Where on earth has this come from Flavio Cobolli?
We've been building towards it the last few weeks. I mean, the biggest... He's kept running into Zverev, and I've kept thinking he was ready to take Zverev. I still think he's capable of it at a big tournament. But he just didn't show up at the start of the matches. By the time he did, it was too late. But it does seem to work for him, this surface. I mean, I watched a few of and he was already a set and a break up by the time I joined it, but Mensik's cracking a serve down, getting a mid-court backhand, slicing and coming in like, you know, you're supposed to do in the old days. And he's just so quick, Cobolli, to get around the ball and pass him. Honestly, he was awesome, really, today. I don't know whether that's enough to... I don't think that's enough to worry Cilic in the form Cilic is in. Cilic knows how to play on this surface. Mensik doesn't. It's really that simple.
I think it's going to be interesting because, as I said, Cobolli puts it in terms of his return. He says, I'm one of the best returners on tour, and on grass, if you can get that return in, like neutralise some big serves or just like take advantage and get ahead in points, kind of rewards you in that sense. And obviously Cilic has got a great serve. Like, if I don't know, because I haven't like seen enough of it myself, but if those words of Cobolli are to be believed, and if they're true, like that would be an interesting element of that matchup that would be in Cobolli's favour in terms of like trying to take away a Cilic weapon there. But yeah, I mean, to break Mensik as many times as he did, like, certainly suggests to me that he's right in terms of that return. But I think the point David makes is a good one. Like, Cilic is a veteran on this surface and just has so much experience in a way that Mensik doesn't, and you just would probably back him to be able to figure it out.
I mean, Cobolli lost to Jacob Fernley in Eastbourne.
In qualifying, I think.
Right.
But then he also beat Fonseca in Halle, right?
But that's
and also,
you know,
like, we've learned that the last 3 weeks
nothing means anything.
Cobolli's not that reliable. I mean, like, as I said, the first 6 weeks of the year, he couldn't win a single tennis match. But I think the difference with Mensik and Cilic is Cilic has got far more behind the serve. You know, he's got a big serve, but Mensik is a serve with, you know, okay, he can hit the ball hard, but
He's got a good backhand, hasn't he?
He does.
The forehand.
I feel like Cilic's just game. The baseline shots are far more suited to this particular surface. He knows how to hit them.
Yeah.
Last 4th round match set up today, a repeat of the Australian Open quarterfinal between Ben Shelton and Lorenzo Sonego. Shelton manhandling Martin Fucsovics 6-3, 7-6, 6-2 on court 1. really put a show on for court one. Says he loves court one, he loves playing out there, but he's got a real drive to go far enough to get on centre court. Like, that's a real goal for him. And my goodness me, does he show up in slams? He is a different guy in Grand Slam events. He was great today. So he'll play Sonego, who had a rather different route through to the fourth round. 10-3 in the final set tiebreak against Brandon Nakashima, David.
Yeah, over 5 hours. It's the court right next door to our media centre, so I spent the first tiebreak sort of stood in the gangway, using my height to look over 40 heads basically and watch that. Great atmosphere on that little enclosed court there. And then I watched the other sets from our broadcast roof here, looking down on top of it, and right at the end there, watched the final set tiebreak. And again, brilliant atmosphere, pockets of American fans, a big swath of Italian fans singing songs, and then Sonego's just great when you need a moment, and he just get into that tiebreak, he just comes alive, and his celebration was epic at the end, just sort of standing there in the middle of the court, just turning around, just lapping up the support in this prolonged moment of celebration. And a guy like him, he's not going to win this tournament, but he's going to have loads of moments in his career like that. And it is quite funny because you've got one of the better backhands on the tour in Nakashima and one of the worst in Sonego, and yet he's got this great forehand. He's just so lopsided in that way, but he found a way. It was good.
The Italian media, I mean, are they okay? Like,
overworked, aren't they?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, yes, of course, Sinner's there. And Paolini loses early, and maybe they were thinking that's a shame, but at least a slightly easier life. Elisabetta Cocciaretto pops up and says hi. Lorenzo Sonego, Flavio Cobolli. There is no peace for Italy.
And it's getting worse. Like,
yeah.
They're getting, or better, really. I mean, they're getting stronger. I
Good
think.
problems.
Crazy.
I think this is the first time there's been 3 Italian men into the last 16 at Wimbledon. And when Mazzetti loses in the first round, you would have thought that would be almost impossible. And no, Sonego and Cobolli back Sinner up, as you say.
Right, let's look at tomorrow's order of play, starting on centre court at 1:30 with Sonne Cartel against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova.
Looking forward to that.
Me too. I hope the nerves are okay for Sonne Cartel. I think I back her once she's settled to handle that. She just seems like that sort of character, but it's a big deal.
Different game against her as well. I mean, she started slowly against Ian Parry a couple of days ago, seemed nervous, but Parry is not Pavlyuchenkova.
And I remember in her press conference after beating Ostapenko, Cartel said, I don't often do that well against the big hitters. And I actually kind of was shocked by that, because I thought like she maybe has some tools to handle them. She certainly did against Ostapenko. But Pavlyuchenkova is a big hitter, big flat hitter of the ball. I think there's...
And not a sprayer.
Not
like
a sprayer,
some do.
and like Ostapenko in that match. I mean, she can be sometimes Pavlyuchenkova, but she hasn't been this tournament. And I think there's definitely a world where I think Pavlyuchenkova just hits her off the court. But I think Cartel's maybe underrating there her own elements. There'll be the crowd element. Pavlyuchenkova kind of feels like there's maybe a limit on her this tournament. I don't know. Like that, she did well against Osaka, but that was a big win, a big moment.
And a different type of ball as well.
Very
that's just a straight up and down hitting contest. Yeah. Cartel with that exaggerated spin, she can move you, can't she?
It's a really intriguing match. I actually have no real sense of how that's going to go.
Huge opportunity for both of them, isn't it? Arina Sabalenka against Elisa Mertens, second
I do have a sense of
tomorrow.
how that's going to go.
Yes, me too. And finally, Carlos Alcaraz against Andrei Rublev. Same applies. I mean, obviously, Rublev will get a set.
Andy Murray has intervened.
Carlos Alcaraz needs to stop using his off days to play golf with Andy Murray. Go away, Andy Murray. Stop it.
Because last time they played on the Sunday just before the first
Fanini
match
Gate.
of the tournament, which was Fanini Gate, exactly. So all our evidence suggests that that's bad for Alcaraz.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, he'll
We'll
obviously drop a
see.
set because Alcaraz.
Carlos.
Yeah. Right. Court 1 tomorrow opens with Taylor Fritz against Jordan Thompson.
Yep.
Fritz should be right there, shouldn't he?
He should be, yeah.
You'd
Will he
have thought.
bleed?
Probably.
These are the important Taylor
How many
Fritz
sets
questions.
do we think? 5, 5, and 4 so far.
He's got,
Think this is the straight
it needs
sets?
to be Jordan Thompson must be a bit crooked.
Played doubles today as well.
Yeah. Like, we didn't think he was fit coming in, and now he's got here winning
He's got a-
marathon matches.
Yeah.
And,
He's got a good grass court game. I could
He
see
does.
I could see a couple of close sets.
but I think it's time for Taylor Fritz
Yeah.
to win in 3 without bleeding on the court.
Yeah.
I think it's time. Second on tomorrow, Nicholas Jarry against Cameron Norrie. Norrie with the court 1 assignment.
Yeah, like he would have asked for and wanted. So they've obviously given, they've sort of split up the Brits, haven't they, and put Cartel first on centre and then Norrie second on 1. I think it's good scheduling tomorrow.
Yeah, agreed. Is Jarry going to win?
I think he is.
And that would be his first Grand Slam quarter-final.
Yep.
You've already done the nose strip. Like, what more can you
that's
do
it.
to...
That's the only thing I'm doing. To be clear.
Okay.
Are you going to do it again, though?
Yeah, from now on, if he wins, I'll keep doing it.
Okay.
What will you do if Amanda Anisimova reaches the Wimbledon quarterfinals? She's last on court 1 tomorrow against Linda Noskova.
You can hardly go and get
I
her
will.
backhand, can you?
I've been trying.
could dye your hair.
I've been trying for 20,
You could dye your
29
hair.
years.
She's done that this year.
I could.
You
I could go blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
If
love
Amanda
that.
Anisimova wins Wimbledon, I'll go blonde. How about that?
Oh, please happen.
My God, I'm so invested. I was already invested.
No,
And
but
now I'm obsessed.
Tomorrow, what I will do is keep my head. There's more to come if she wins.
We open on court 2 tomorrow. Bit of a soft launch this for day 7. Karen Khachanov against Kamil Majchak. No one's going blonde for that, are they?
Hachanov's played back-to-back 5-setters,
Yeah.
I think. So actually, I think there's a sneaky chance for Majchak there, who's been kind of
Yeah.
cruising.
Yeah.
I think he could take advantage of Khachanov.
Solana Sierra gets to face the Laura Siegmund hoo-ha. Second on court 2 tomorrow. Go with God, Solana. And the rest is... My goodness me. The rest is doubles and juniors. Wow. We've reached that stage. It's happened. This is, of course, tomorrow's what used to be Manic Monday, which was 2 manic. So now they've split it over 2 days, which I do think is an improvement. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow, of course. At the end of it all, Matt might be wearing a nose strip.
Yep.
There's only one way to find out. Do you join us? We'll be here not before 9:30.
Well done.
We have a mascot for today's show. That mascot is Jeff. Excellent animal name. Jeff is owned by Christine Olthoff. Jeff, his full name is Thomas Jefferson Jr. because his mum went to the University of Virginia. Don't understand that reference. Do we know what connections the University of Virginia? Apologies, Christine, for not understanding that, but I shall proceed nonetheless. Christine also has a cat named William Howard Taft Jr., who was one of the first presidents of the USA. I won't remind people that I once used to be able to name all the presidents of the USA in sequence with their dates.
Oh God, I didn't know you could do that.
Yes you did, because the last time I revealed that you said, I'm glad I know you now.
I thought that was knowing all the state capitals.
Well, I knew that as well. I had a real Americana
Wow.
phase.
So you won't remind us of that, is what you say?
Well, I just have, haven't I?
Yes.
William H. Taft is what I knew him as. Anyway, right, I've derailed Jeff's mascotdom.
Sorry, Jeff.
Right, Jeff has no known connection to Ohio. He's a cream, miniature, long-haired dachshund. Oh, my goodness me, a sausage. He just turned 1 and is in full-blown toddler mode. I've experienced that with Neville, Billie Jean's best friend. He visits his grandparents several days a week because his mama is in medical school. Wow. You have got your hands full, Christine. Jeff loves to play tug of war, chase tennis balls, and attend tennis matches to cheer on his Fifi. That's what he calls his grandmother. This is a lot of great detail. He loves going for walks and tolerates being dressed up. I know that vibe. Jeff's latest trick is getting on the dining room table by first climbing on a chair and then hopping onto the table. He's not always a good boy, but he's always the best boy. Love that. Jeff, do you want to see? Jeff is absolutely beautiful.
It's great.
All right,
A
Jeff.
proper blonde. That's the colour you're going to be a week on Saturday. We'll do it live on air, shall we?
He's got Diana Schneider's bandana.
Yeah.
She wasn't wearing it the other day.
No, and she lost. There we go. Right, thank you, Jeff. That was all just wonderful. Thank you to our mascots, of course, Phoebe, Maisie and Roger. Hello to our top folks and executive producers, Greg, Chris and Jeff. Matt, let's have some shout-outs.
We have Jennifer Amadeo from Wilton, Connecticut.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. Like Capriati, who I've been reading about in Hard Courts from the 1990 season by John Feinstein.
Saw that in your car the other day.
Yeah, I've still got about 20 pages to go. Looking forward to that.
Like Jennifer Brady.
Yep.
Jennifer says, I got my husband to listen to the pod. He listens to a bazillion podcasts, but this is one of a very few where we overlap. Thanks to you, we can have very intense discussions over tennis.
Love it.
Love that.
Well done, Jennifer, for getting your husband
No one
into
loves
it.
intense discussions over tennis more than us. So that's great. Thank you, Jennifer.
We've also got Lawrence in Melbourne, Australia.
Hi, Lawrence.
Hello, Lawrence.
Lawrence says, my friend Will and I attended the live show in
Oh,
Melbourne. And he's
Hey.
also a friend of the pod.
love
Very good
that.
work.
Thank you, Lawrence. That's
Lawrence,
brilliant.
Like Lawrence Frankopan, former agent of Yannick Sinner.
I thought you were going to... Wasn't there a Thielman?
There was and that's the correct spelling, I believe.
Yeah.
Lawrence Tilleman, who reached the Queen's final in 1998.
You went Frankopan ahead of Thielman.
Only because I forgot Tilleman. Sorry, Lawrence Tilleman.
Lawrence, thank you very much.
And finally, we've got James Meredith.
Oh, hello, James.
Hi, James.
We know
James.
James.
Yeah.
Like Meredith Schofield.
The name I used for McCartney Kessler when I forget McCartney Kessler's real name.
And James, like James Giothevong.
Yes. Most excellent umpire.
Excellent umpire, very high profile. James Blake is coming up a lot in the chat as well.
James says, a 90s anecdote that David in
Oh.
particular will hopefully enjoy.
Yep.
The first Grand Slam I attended was the 1999 US Open. While I was in New York with my family, I remember visiting a shop that was one of not many places back then that sold British newspapers. I wanted to try and keep up to date with the football results from back home. As I was perusing a copy of the Times, who should politely tap me on the shoulder and ask if I was going to buy it? It was the last copy in the shop. And if not, would it be okay if he did? Jeremy Bates.
I was not
What
expecting
a
that. That's
quintessentially
amazing.
English anecdote.
Yeah.
Yep.
James, that is incredible. Thank you, James, Lawrence, and
Jennifer.
Jennifer. I was going Meredith. My mind was still with Meredith. Jennifer, James, Lawrence, thank you all ever so much. Thank you for being friends of the Tennis Podcast. If you'd like to become a friend of the pod, the link is in our show notes, as is the link to subscribe to our newsletter, which is excellent. Matt does his very best work in there. Thank you to Wimbledon for letting us sit here and do this show. It is a great honour and it's incredibly special for us to be able to do this and to be able to finish before 11 p.m.
Yeah, big.
What a treat. And thank you to The Athletic. We are proudly part of The Athletic Podcast Network. Folks, we will be back tomorrow, not before 9:30 p.m. Do subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and then you can find out exactly when we are going live, but guaranteed not to be before 9:30. If matches go late, it could be later, but fingers crossed for 9:30 tomorrow. But, Taylor Fritz, there's just no knowing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you and speak to you tomorrow.